Alrighty, we live, Andrew?
Yes, sir. You're ready.
Alrighty, thank you. Good evening, court. Today is November 21st, 2023, and this is the 5 o'clock work session. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I hope everybody's doing well tonight. I know Squire Blackburn just had a little incident and hurt his back, so he will not be with us tonight. So we hope he's feeling better. At this time, I'm going to ask, is there anybody that has public comments in the audience that would like to speak? See no public comments. Mr. Bill Marshall is here. Taking pictures. Hey, Bill. That's cool. That's cool. So I'd ask Bill. Bill's going to come in here and talk a little bit about, I think you remember Bill, with the Japanese, Taka came with us and stuff, so he was going to briefly, 15 minutes, if you don't mind.
I will keep it as brief as I can. I know you guys are super busy, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to come back and address you. And thank you, Judge Mueller, for all your support, you and your family. You guys are awesome. Very good.
Happy to help.
We are so well represented by the Muellers, I tell you what. Makes us all proud. So the visit, we were basically restarting our sister city relationship stuff after the COVID pause. Japan was kind of later to lift all those travel restrictions, and so now everything's kind of back to normal. Therefore, they had the idea to send a representative to us, which they did about, a few weeks ago. And he was here. We visited around. There were some events. The International Day was a wonderful event. Thank you for that as well. And so everything was a great success, similar to the first three gentlemen that visited here way back in 2016. So we're 2 for 2 in hosting visitors from Shimamoto. And so, but this time we have kind of different leadership on both sides. And both sides, in Judge Mueller and Mayor Wilkerson, we consider this, a city-county partnership, particularly with our schools. We want all of our kids, Frankfort Independent, Franklin County, to have the equal opportunity to share in all this student exchange stuff. So. But speaking of that, what we're looking for next year is starting up a very robust program of teacher exchange at first, and then start teaching Japanese in our schools so that our kids are able to, once they get a semester or two under their belt, they can do a semester homestay over in our sister city of Shimamoto, maybe in their junior or senior year. I've actually been substitute teaching even a little bit at Frankfort Independent Schools and soon Franklin County. And so it's nice to see it from the inside, so I can kind of see what the opportunities are as we set up Japanese language classes in both of our school systems. By offering this very unique opportunity for our kids, we're kind of creating a value-added labor source too that would be Japanese companies would be very interested in. And so what we also thought is, in terms of economic development opportunities, was maybe reaching out and courting some Japanese companies to come directly to Frankfort and Franklin County. So in order to do that, we're thinking about maybe going over and visiting Shimamoto and maybe some of these companies over there. And they also have organizations that help with matching up the companies looking to locate in various places overseas. And so we see this as kind of a larger package to really raise up both of our communities, but also create some really good jobs too for our kids. And I know over the years, retention of the folks that are going to school here and and thus it's been a challenge, and so this would help that as well if we were able to attract more Japanese companies with the high-paying jobs and really set them on a path to taking those jobs. So there's a lot more detail to it, but I won't get into all that stuff. And we're kind of, we're very fortunate that we have both sides of the table, if you will, want to work and maximize this relationship as much as we can. And I think this is, the planets are all lining up, so, I think it's worth pursuing. So, and I will be giving this kind of same presentation over at the City Commission as well, because like I said, we're all partners in this together. So, but, I mean, that's what we're looking for in the next year. And so I've said a lot. Does anybody have any questions or anything?
I'm going to ask you, it said,
Yes, sir.
you're starting to work with the school systems junior,
Yes, sir.
senior year to try to come up with a program.
Yes.
Have you talked to the school boards?
Not the school boards yet.
Okay.
No.
Do you plan on talking to them?
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was really kind of looking to understand the nuts and bolts of how the classes would work. And actually, the principal of Frankfurt High School came from Elizabethtown originally, and they have a sister city partnership with Japan, and he has experience with that already. So I was kind of telling him some of our ideas, and he's like, yeah, that's great, let's go for it, So, I mean, we already have good support, within the schools themselves, and, of course, we'll take it to everybody that needs to hear, so, but like I said, this is a really great chance with both sides being, so ready to roll. I'm excited. So,
Good. Any questions for Bill Marshall? I just want to say we appreciate all you're doing.
Well,
I know
thank
it's a
you.
lot to take on, and there's a lot of organizing and logistics and things like that.
Yes, sir.
So we appreciate it, and just keep us in the loop.
Well, thank you all, and I appreciate all of your all service, and everybody have a wonderful Thanksgiving as
All
well.
righty. Thank you, too, Bill. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. All righty. Next, I believe Mr. John Russ is going to come up and kind of give us an update. How you doing, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's been a little bit since we've seen you.
It's been a little while. We've been busy.
That's a good thing.
Jack keeps us on our toes.
That's good. We like to hear that.
So far, we've launched 11 online services for the county, 2 in-office payment processing. So if someone comes in to pay an electrical fee or planning and zoning, they can pay that here with a credit card, as well as 9 different strictly online services, from a citation, business license application, electrical permit, sign permit, short-term rental registration, and a preliminary subdivision plat application. So the original, I guess that's 11 that we were tasked to build out. Those are all done. So now we're going to start focusing on a few additional ones.
Okay.
We'll get together next week and talk about a solution we have called Prompt Pay to allow the staff not to take credit card numbers over the phone. They can send out a text or an email with a secure payment link that someone will be able to go online and make that payment.
Okay.
And then we'll just sit down and figure out what paper form we want to do next.
Jack, you want to add anything to that? I know you've been instrumental in working this whole thing, so.
All I want to add is that John and his team, Hannah, have been amazing to work with. Everything that we have asked for, they've been able to provide. This is obviously a work in progress. We have a lot of really good things that are still to come, but just the fact that we have these things online for the public right now is phenomenal, and I couldn't ask for a better partner to be trying to get this project completed with. So thank you.
We appreciate that. And 11 services in the short amount of time that we've done is a really testament to your all's team, as far as this is what we want, this is what we need, this is how we're going to get it done. We'll build it out, but a lot of it's on you all to test and make sure everything's working correctly, and then we'll move it into our production environment. So.
All right, what questions does the court have for John? Squire Sebastian.
And thank you, Judge. Thank you again for being here. Are we going to move into the, like, being able to accept, like, electronic versions rather than just, like an email version of a application for employment and those kind of things for example, right now, you would take it out, just type it on your computer or whatever, and then email or scan it in. Are we going to do all of that? Like, are those things slated at some point to be on there?
We don't necessarily have the roadmap for what's to come next. Now, they may have that mapped out internally.
Okay.
We just haven't had those
Like
discussions.
board appointment forms, that kind of,
So we have gone recently online with our application process, 100% online. That's through Paycor. That's through our payroll software. that we
so
use.
anything with employment goes through Paycor
Yeah.
and is outside of this
Yes.
process? Okay,
And we're working that side too, right now.
okay. Okay.
I will point out that probably 4 of the 5 that we've done so far actually process a payment where we're actually collecting a portal administration fee. The other 7 are just done at no cost to you all under our self-funded contract with the state.
So do we have any, so if there's 11 up, just so we all understand, because I don't even know, how many potentially total? Are we 50% or? And that might be
Yeah.
too big of a question.
That's a good question, just because I honestly don't know the amount of different types of forms that exist in planning and zoning. We try to hit the ones that are the most utilized on an everyday basis
Okay.
as a priority. It's something where we could probably eliminate some forms at some point, or potentially put more up as we go. And so we're gonna, this was kind of phase 1, was get us up and running, get us online, get us to, and so now we can drop back to phase 2, which was maybe a little lower priority, and start working those forms and things as well.
Okay, thank you.
So are there any forms that require additional type of payment? And I'm throwing this out there because John may not have the full spectrum of the I guess, applications that we need, that we want to add to this? I mean, because I heard 2 right now and they're the most heavily used. So are there others out there that we have that are maybe down tier, that's where we're ultimately going to go with some additional forms?
I think so. And other departments that have forms and payments as well, the parks.
Yeah.
And things like that. All of those things we're gonna work toward, for sure.
Okay, because, for example, you bring up Lakeview Park, I know that is heavily used for rentals
Yes.
and a variety of things.
Yes, they are
So-
on the list, for sure, absolutely. We were just trying to prioritize some of the payments that we take on an everyday basis, but Lakeview is very high on the list. I can't remember now. Did
We talked about
We talked
Lakeview
about getting
for,
set up with the payment portal.
Some of their in-office payments.
Yeah.
But not necessarily, we briefly discussed the rentals, but as far as mapping that out and
Yeah.
starting to build it, we haven't.
But it is coming, it is coming.
Okay, good.
Yep, it's all positive things.
I would look at it as any PDF is on the website, for the most part, could be turned into an online service. It's just a matter of identifying those, putting them in like a queue, basically. This is what we want next, and we'll just keep knocking 5, 6, 7 of them out at a time.
I think that's great.
Yep.
And so testing's been,
It's been good.
user acceptance testing's been good?
Yes.
Here, responsive?
Summer and the team and Robert have been, well, there's a lot of back and forth, which is good.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, thank you.
Squire Wisman.
Well, we have the capability with this system for reservations. I'm thinking specifically, I know that there were some problems with a system that was built out for parks for a while for creating reservations, if it was for the Carter House or otherwise, I can't remember exactly, but will that be a capability as well? Maybe that's a question for Jack, but.
So
I'm
we have an
thinking
appointment
generally
scheduler that's used by transportation cabinet, labor cabinet, state police. Everyone here can probably drive, but maybe you have a kid that needs to schedule a driver's test. So that's using our appointment scheduler. It's just a reservation, it's not a payment. So it'll be two separate steps. But if you just wanted someone to be able to check and see if it was available at a specific time and reserve it, and then come back at a later date and make a payment, we can do that, sure.
But there will be the capability then, that sort of answers my question, that you can make a reservation and someone in-house then can send you, after approving, let's say,
Sure.
send you a link for payment.
Yes.
So that will be more of a streamlined situation than we have currently. Okay, thanks.
That would be great for golf. you know, too, setting up a tea time, you
Yeah,
know,
I will
way ahead of
say
time.
that
I mean,
our, I'm sorry
lots
to
of-
interrupt you, but
No,
our
you're
appointment
not.
scheduler does have a monthly fee of $100 a month per service, where the stuff we've done so far has been self-funded. Just, I don't want you to get down the path and like, what is this guy's charging us all of a sudden?
No, we appreciate you being upfront about it, but I think to their point, you know, the more we can streamline and come up to 2023, the better off we'll all be, so they're still using notepads, so.
But we could still have the applications to make a reservation that would email to us, that we weren't using the scheduler, but we could still shoot the link out for payment and things like that and just keep our own schedule too.
Yeah,
So
I think that's another great use for prompt pay that we talked about last
Right,
week, or earlier this week. So if someone goes online, makes that reservation, you all review the information, say, yes, this is good. You can send them an email or a text message with an amount due that they can pay, then you can see when that payment comes across.
I really appreciate you coming in. At the last court meeting, I had some questions, just kind of how this was rolling out, so it's great to hear,
Happy to be here.
you know, the number of forms that
Could've
we've
asked
already,
the gym.
I should have. But it's good for everybody here to hear, you know, what good work's being done internally as well for user acceptance testing and how everybody's being upfront and forthright about, these are things we absolutely need and they're already out there for the
Yeah,
public
and I
to
think
use.
as we go forward and we get used to working together and we know what's expected and we kind of train you all, your staff on, this is what I need you to do to verify this is going to work. It's all going to go much quicker now.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I still wasn't going to ask any questions or make any comments, but we may be ready for all the scheduling and everything else online and appointments, but I'm not sure that the public is ready for that. So, for example, if I'm going to go out to the Lakeview to play golf and I can't because somebody's already reserved it, or if I wanted to make reserve a tee time, then they say, no, you got to go online to get that done. I'm sure y'all got that all figured out, how that's going to work, but when you do, let me know.
With something like that, I think it's just getting, the public getting used to a new way of doing business. And that's not our decision, that's your Austin Lakeview's.
Yeah.
You know, you may only allow partial booking online for the
Yeah.
golf course. So you can handle walk-ins.
Yes.
So if you can, so you would have four foursomes an hour, maybe you only allow 2 appointments online per hour.
And Squire, let's be honest, with the technology nowadays, I mean, everybody's on social media and emailing. It's just a matter of educating everybody once we get to that phase as far as how we're gonna, to your point.
Well,
how
it'll
we're
take
gonna
some
move
of
forward.
that, and the curve, I think, we might be pushing the curve quicker than we get there.
Yeah.
But that's my opinion, and that's all it is.
Yeah, it's all good.
And I
John,
think
again, go ahead.
Conversely, a large segment of the population wants to be able to look at their phone and see if something's available right
Yeah.
then. And I think that will increase usage of a lot of our amenities if they can. do that.
Restaurants, everything's going to
Yes.
it, yeah, so, exactly, so, we'll get there, but I'm proud of everybody for taking this on, and I think it's a big step for Franklin County to put everything online, and we appreciate you and your team's help and Jack's help with this, so.
But
thank
you would
you.
have us live here, so we're happy to help.
That's good,
So,
we appreciate you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a nice Thanksgiving.
Thanks a lot.
Mr. Duke, I believe road department update's next. Good evening, how you doing?
Good evening. Doing great. How y'all doing?
Doing well, thank you.
Like to update everyone on the progress done at the road department on our project. We ran into another little hiccup on our salt barn building due to some soil conditions down there. The engineer's been working on it, and I think they've about got it figured out what we're gonna do, so hopefully that'll be moving along pretty soon. On a positive note, they did pour some footers for our vehicle storage building yesterday. So it's moving along pretty good. Frankfurt Plant Board and Arch Electric's on site. Well, started yesterday, working on moving the power lines. Some of them are going underground now, so they're working on that. That's about all I've got for this evening.
How's everything going with the guys? I know we had a good meeting this morning down there and kind of talked about snow a little bit. If you want to kind of talk a little bit about snow and that new truck and where that is and just anything like that the
Yes,
court
sir.
might be interested in,
We-
please.
We did have a pretty good little meeting this morning. The judge and Jack and all the guys at the road department. That went pretty well. Updated them on a few things. And, you know, we've been working on some snow equipment. Pretty well got it in good shape. Just servicing some trucks and doing things you have to do yearly to get everything ready. It's going pretty well on that end. That's about all I got.
What questions do you all have for Duke? Duke, I just want to say we appreciate you guys. I know it's leaf season. I know
Yeah.
you all said you kind of had a machine go down, so you're working on that.
We got it back today,
Oh, you
actually.
did?
Yes.
Good, good.
So,
We also
hopefully we'll
talked, Travis gave us an update, you know, if the court remembers, we bought a truck, I believe, and it's being upfitted for snow and things. It's been in the shop getting it put on.
Yes.
Travis did tell me this morning that it's physically inside, which means it's being worked on, so hopefully in the next couple weeks, we can have that vehicle on the road for snow also. Sheriff Squire, do you have something? Go ahead.
Thank you, Judge.
Yeah.
Thank you for being with us. A number of us just went to a conference, and there was some information there was shared with one of the sessions, and I brought some of that down to your assistant yesterday
Okay.
to share with him, so you all may connect on that. And what the discussion point is about rotating the fleet out while it still had some useful life in it and also still had value to roll back into, rather than hanging on to I'm going to say a single axle dump truck for 30 years that you know, that at the end of its useful life,
Right.
you know, it really has no value in it, and it's costing us more to insure it than we're able to use it and et cetera.
Insurance
So,
and
yes. So
Yeah.
there was a considerable discussion in one of the sessions about that. And the sheriff's office is fantastic about doing that with their fleet. And I hadn't heard a lot about large, you know, heavy equipment, but there was a presentation on that, so.
Yeah, the new trucks are very hard to come by.
Yeah,
I will say that.
And that's one of the things that I talked, you know, to the assistant superintendent yesterday about, because they really weren't able to give a time frame. If you do give up a piece of equipment,
Right.
how long is the wait to get something back? Because if you're using it and it's in your fleet rotation, you need it.
Right.
So I know there's a trade-off there, but it was just something that piqued our interest, because your equipment is, I mean, I know,
Right.
it's really expensive stuff.
It
It's
sure
very
is.
expensive. So, you know, and it's something that you need every day.
Right.
So I don't know what the happy medium is there, but anyway, it's just information. When we go to these sessions, it's good to just share that as soon as we can, so, thank you.
Judge, it makes me think of, I'm wondering if we got the boom Motrin ordered, and if we have any kind of estimate of when we're
It
gonna get
is
that in.
ordered. We don't really have an estimate right now on the time to get it in our hands.
I'm sort of thinking if it's going to be summer to fall of next year, like was originally estimated, I'd like to start thinking about what we could do possibly in the springtime to take care of some of the issues that weren't addressed this last year. And much of my district didn't get any trimming this year because that thing just couldn't hold up long enough. So I'd like to make that
Yeah,
a
we
priority this spring before it gets away from us. And if there's some way we could contract out or rent us some equipment or something, maybe we can explore that. So, thanks.
One other thing, just to make sure the court's aware of it, that we did receive the new trommel for the animal post facility. When Ally, Will, and I met with Buffalo Trace, they're not opposed to us putting a structure over it. So we're in the process of, she sent that to them today. We did kind of a little sketch, what it would look like and things like that. So there's still some grant money left on that because the trommel came in less. So we believe there's enough to actually pay to have the structure built over, and be able to park the piece of equipment up there to try to keep it out of the weather. So I know that's something we've talked about for a while, and they said they didn't want us to do it,
But after our last meeting, it seemed like they were okay with it.
Is it just kind of a shed?
It's like a lean-to
Or
with one
lean-to,
side
just one
closed down
side,
to the
yeah,
west, you know, to pull it in, and then, so everything's out of the equipment, and they just want it to blend in as much as they can. So
Sure.
it'll probably be black metal, and, you know, we'd assume red because the warehouses are, but they said, no, so anyways, they've been great to work with, and I can't thank Buffalo Trace enough for that relationship that we continue to have with
Is
them.
there anything, will we have to like sub that out, or is that something that we'll be able to do in?
We're going back and forth on that, Duke and I have talked about it.
Okay.
So we're in the process of showing it to a couple contractors to get pricing, to see what's there. I know they're very busy.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of to the point, if somebody builds these for a living and the money's in that grant, maybe just,
Get
you
it
know,
up quickly?
in.
not, I don't want to put extra
Yeah,
strain
get it
on
up.
their backs because of
Sure.
everything else going on
Sure.
down there. It's a little
Get it up.
chaotic, so
Yeah.
that's at least our train of thought right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. Duke, thank you.
Thank you.
Alrighty, this is Judge's report here. We had a Veterans Day celebration, which was really nice. I saw some of you all there. It was a great thing. It was a nice parade through downtown. The morning was beautiful, a little chilly in the shade, but it was probably one of the biggest crowds they've ever had. It was really neat. Very appreciative that the community came out and so many people were there. Nothing but good things to talk about there. Trying to make sure Andrew gets through all the pictures. I don't want to cut anybody out, so. Lieutenant Governor Coleman came, had a nice speech, very nice things to say to the audience, and she was there last year too, but it was just a great event. It just really kind of just hit home a little bit. As Squire Sebastian said, most of us were up at CAECO conference last week in Lexington. That's not us there yet. Anyways, we'll get there. CAECO conference was very good. A couple of us has talked. It's probably one of the best ones they've ever had. So I thought that was nice because it's typically when you get to the last conference of the year, it's kind of blah, but they've realized that and they're trying to think outside the box. So the speakers and everything was just spectacular. All right, Andrew, go ahead and put the picture. This last weekend, we all volunteered at the Access Soup Kitchen. We had a great time preparing their meal on a Sunday. So we all got there at 11. Meal was served at 2, I believe. Only one not in that picture there was Morgan. Sherry's daughter was there too, and she's the one that kind of ran things because that's what she's in school for. So we all let her take the lead. But yeah, it was a great event. It was nice to talk to people there and realize that you know, everybody's life's affected. And I was talking to Brian there. He's the new supervisor, I guess you could call him, and he kind of Morgan there, yeah, behind Max there. And he kind of, you know, talked to me. He said, I retired from UPS. I think it was UPS. If that's not right, I'm sorry, Brian. And I don't think it was drugs. He just hit hard times. And he said, you know, there's a lot of people out there that are one paycheck away from being homeless. And it really just came full circle. He was actually from Louisville, ended up in Frankfurt, used the soup kitchen, and then circled back and started working there. And then they offered him the job. So it's really kind of neat that he had a professional career, a family, something happened, and, you know, but he's full circle back helping other people that have been through it. So it was kind of hit home for me when he said, you know, there's a lot of people out there that are one paycheck away. So just kind of puts things in perspective, especially with the holiday season. Committee of the Whole met yesterday with the Frankfurt Plant Board. We had a really good conversation about broadband and how that's going for the community and what that looks like moving forward. Biggest thing we talked about there, and I'll go ahead and say it, is easements. You know, that's going to be their biggest hurdle at this first phase here as they move forward with 884 homes. They need the community to understand that easements are very important so everybody can have broadband, and that's the goal. We even hear Governor talking about it daily almost. Today, I attended the Salvation Army Red Kettle Kickoff. That was a really cool event. Got to be there with the Governor and the First Lady and Winnie. They do incredible things around the country, but especially here in Frankfurt, and the importance of, you know, the volunteers coming out and ringing the bell. And it's amazing, you know, people don't think a couple pennies or nickels add up, but they do. So I think in this holiday season, if people out there can really just kind of step up, and as you're leaving Kroger or JCPenney's or something, you know, leave the change, and let's help
let's help our neighbors that aren't as fortunate as we are. Also, today, we had a Thanksgiving lunch with the staff here, and a couple of the magistrates came. It was a really nice thing. Everybody was potluck. Everybody brought food. It was a great thing for the employees to do together, so I want to thank whoever organized it, and Mitzi and Jack and whoever. I didn't do anything for it, so I'm just going to be honest. But it was a very nice event, and I think everybody had a nice time. This here is a basketball game that was held yesterday at Kentucky State. All the kids, I believe, from 2nd Street and Frankfurt High were in attendance. Deputy Kennedy went in my place because I had a scheduling conflict. But it was a really good game, and I believe everybody had a great time. Heard nothing but good things about it. So the more we can help support Kentucky State, I think the better off our community will be. The last thing I have for you is the Christmas parade. We have done this in the past, I believe, last 4 years. Some of the magistrates might help me remember. This year, we decided to switch it up a little bit. We've invited all county employees to participate with us. So I believe Mitzi reached out to the chief, the sheriff, road department about potentially putting a vehicle of each in the parade. I hope the county employees and their families want to come with us and walk and just show that we're all one team here, and just hopefully it'll be a nice evening that we can all spend together, and it's all good stuff as far as I'm concerned. So that's what I have for you all. Alrighty.
Judge?
Yes.
Just quickly, since you mentioned that we met with the plant board yesterday, just if anyone that may be watching that has questions about whether they're in the service area or not, we're waiting on some of that information from the plant board, but I suppose the recommendation would be to call the plant board if you have any questions about whether you're in the initial phase or going to be in the second phase of the rollout that we're working on. So.
And as soon as we have that information, we can share it. But somebody did request it, and the plant board's working on getting it to us. So yes, thank you, Squire. Alrighty, any questions? We have the approval of the minutes from November 8th, 2023 meeting. Any thoughts on that? I believe our clerk is here. And before I forget, hold on, Jeff, I want to jump back to my report. Yesterday, we had a new PVA sworn in. Will Rhodes is Franklin County's new PVA. So was happy to see him. So the governor swore him in, and then I did my thing. So he was in the office today as his first day as our new PVA. So that's the other thing I wanted to share. Sorry, Jeff, didn't mean to interrupt you. I had to up here. So how you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Everything's lovely. Thank you for being here.
Good. I've got several agenda items up here. The first being the preparation for the tax bill claims. This is a formality. They've already been sent out. It's you're all paying your percentage of it, which is $3,500, and the state pays their percentage, which is $3,500. It still leaves us at a shortfall of about $2,600 total, but it's the equation the state gives you. That's what we have to deal with. Any questions on that? All right, can I go on and just go through all mine, or
Please.
do I have to thumb back up there? All right.
Just, if you don't mind, if we start jumping around, just tell us what number it's on to make sure everybody grabs the right one, Jeff. We on
Okay.
5 now?
Yeah, that's fine. Lump sum, that's my full budget. I want to go over this with you just a little bit. If you'll look, I highlighted green areas for you. The reason I did this, we are obviously at a point where I'm having to move some numbers around. We are not seeing the same type of revenues come in from real estate transfer tax. We're not seeing the same type of revenues come in from any of our land record side. It's not that I don't expect them to return at some point, but we are just not doing the volume of work we have done over the last several years. So I went in and made sure I highlighted those, and the highlighted number is what we've moved it to. The written in number is what it was in the previous year's budget. I just wanted you all to see that we are not, we can't make taxes come if they're not available, especially when we start talking about transfer tax, deed tax, and any of the land records. They have to be available. We have to have movement in the system to have tax base at that. Is there any questions on that particular portion of that?
I have a question
Yes.
Richard, would you mind turning, Squire, would you mind turning the mics on? Thank you.
On line item number 35,
Interest earned?
yes, we don't have any interest-bearing accounts at all anywhere?
We do have an interest-bearing account. Our regular account's an interest-bearing account. It fluctuates so much from year to year at this point, Squire Tanner, that, and it may have been a Floridian slip. I don't know why she hadn't added it in there.
Well, there's something in there
Yeah,
regardless.
I agree with you, and that's something we would amend to make sure we get it taken care of. That's something that should be in there as interest earned, because even this year, we're gonna earn more this year than we've earned in the past 2 years, just because
Well, it's
the
higher.
interest base is better.
It's higher right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Very, very.
So I apologize for that. That is something that I wouldn't have let slip by, but at some point, it's gotten by me. So I apologize.
It's all good. Thank you. Go ahead, Squire.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you for being with us. So from what I can figure, it looks like receipts, you're anticipating us to be down about 115,
Yes.
right?
If not a little bit more. It's 115 I've given you in total receipts.
Yeah, that's kind of the math, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you think, and that's kind of where I was going, I mean, that's the best estimate, I guess, at this point, but we may see it slide a little north of that?
Yeah, I took this from this year's numbers. I took projections from where we're at, where we're going, where I think we're gonna end the year at. All of a sudden, if we have a transfer month in the month of December and we have an abundance of transfers and all these numbers catch back up, that's why it's a budget.
Sure.
I'm trying to budget and prepare you for what I think excess fees, worst case scenario could be.
And so it looks like, as far as outlay, then the outlay's gonna be a little different here too, based on what I saw. I got 2025 and about, so it's close to 50? It's about 40, 43?
It's a little bit more than that. It's closer to 50.
It's close to 50.
Yep.
So you're seeing that also?
Yeah, you're seeing that in
So-
the return that's going out to your sheriff, that's going out to your
Yeah.
county attorney, that's going out. And I share these numbers with them, so they know what to expect when it comes to a delinquent tax base. Our delinquent tax base is not a true number this year. We had a historically large payment at the end of it, that threw the number base off that we are not anticipating having this next year.
It's 47. Okay.
Squire Wisman.
The deputy gross salaries, you anticipate going up 23,000?
3%.
3%? Is
That's
that
a 3%
anticipated for a
across the
3%
board.
raise? I wanted to ask, okay.
Figured that out on before the other.
Yeah, just wanted to make sure.
And so that's your plan is to give them a 3%?
We've got 3% coming. You've got a lot of people, we've had some turnover in the last year. You've had a lot of very experienced clerks retire. You've had 2 that were especially important to our program. But we have to train these people, and as they get their training done, and as they continue to grow at their job and at their technique, we're continuing to reward them so we don't lose them. So we're gonna work back into that number, but the 3% COLA raise will absolutely be. But when you bring them up from the middle to the top, you still have to expect to pay top pay. So there is some raised base in there, plus there is 3% COLA across the board.
That's, I know we looked at that during the finance committee, and there was a challenge doing that across the board for everybody. So
There is.
that remains a
They
challenge, so
talked about that, yeah.
we need to discuss that here as a body, because we weren't able to do that across the board.
We didn't follow lead and give a quarter raise either during in July when the court did.
Yeah. This still outweighs all of that.
It's a 3%, yes, ma'am.
It's still heavier than what we were able to give everybody else.
Any other questions?
Just to follow up on the, Jeff, I was wondering, we don't have any budget for land, or record preservation. Is that project finished up? That
It is, but I've taken that budget out because we've given, actually, you all have got a invoice due, finally. We've held it off until they got it all done, completed. We are back imaged all the way to our very first book.
Fantastic.
You all will continue to get the preservation money, meaning you all will continue to get the record document storage fees. But you all have got an invoice right now of $149,000 coming from US Imaging. I believe Amy's already gotten it, haven't you? Yeah, Amy's got the invoice. I think we have $136,000 in that account.
It is 130, but we have a copier that we will come out of that money as well.
Okay.
So it's a little bit less.
All right. And obviously, when we started that contract, I gave back over $850,000, which was allocated from 2 budget cycles ago. That was given back in excess fee base from 2 cycles ago. That would have paid for the $149,000. So the money was given a long time ago, and that contract was signed it took a long time to image everything.
Will we still have an annual expenditure for microfilming and digitizing any?
You will.
But that'll be part of the daily.
It will be, and it's going to range around $12,000 annually.
Thanks.
It's about $1,000 a month to microfilm. I'm hoping at some point we get some legislation to get rid of the microfilming.
Squire Tracy, do you have a question?
Just a quick question. During your review and conversation, did you have a COLA recommendation?
No, we haven't discussed this.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Squire Tanner.
Well, this question is to either Jeff or Amy. Whenever you have an employee retire, does the county have to fund that leave time? That thing's paid out in lump sum, or does that come out of that, your salary?
We paid it back. We were able to pay it back, and that is correct.
Right, you pay back the vacation payout, sick, goes over into retirement, the county pays that.
I didn't know if we were going to be able to do that. We had some very hefty retirements this year. We've been living well inside our means, below our means, to be honest. We are working back into, we've got a very healthy office right now. We've got a great training program. We've got great people going in the right spots, but it still costs the same amount of money to do the jobs.
Any other questions for Mr. Hancock? All right. Oh, I'm sorry.
Does he have
Squire,
one
correct.
more? Not on this. I just didn't know if he was finished completely. Mr. Clerk, can you talk to us about the closure?
I hope so.
Okay.
And I'm wholeheartedly joking about that. You all heard what
At the conference.
was going on at conference.
Yep.
Let me give you a little background. Avis is 34 years old. Avis is on its very last little bit of life support left. The state of Kentucky has been working on CAVIS for well over 14 years at this point. For the 10 years I've been clerk, all 10 of them, we've been talking about CAVIS starting the next year. I'm very happy. I never thought I would be the clerk when CAVIS finally did happen. On December the 20th, and I just talked to John. I'm really glad I caught John because I asked him about adding our marriage licenses in to a fillable form
Yeah.
that we can have beforehand. So that was, and then the conversation went on to talk about the shutdown. He says, Jeff, you can't stay open on the 29th. I said, well, what do you mean? He said, we're going to shut you all down on the night of the 28th, is what I've been told. I'm going to tell you right now, we have all intentions of the clerk's office being open on the 29th. Now, the reason being, we probably won't have services to the public back open until January the 16th. That's a long time to ask our taxpayers to wait. January the 1st through the 5th, the clerk's office will be closed completely to avoid any confusion. January the 8th, we will reopen. We will be there to support and do whatever we can. We have asked Heather Stout from the state of Kentucky to make us a pilot, make us the very first county that you open. We're going to be there to do all the mail figure out all the problems, do anything we can to be the first county open. I don't like sitting and waiting for stuff to happen. It makes the consumer unhappy, it makes everybody anxious, so we're going to do everything we can to make sure we're supporting the community through this. It will be very touch and go for the first week, 2 weeks of January.
So Jeff, if I might ask, you communicating with the car dealerships and, things that are moving multiple vehicles a day?
Yeah, I am. I've sent them all the information. I'm gonna continue to send it to the car dealerships. Sometimes it's hard to get the response you're looking for out there. The bigger dealerships will be fine. It's the smaller dealerships that close 4 deals and they have to get them done today.
Yeah.
Those are gonna be the guys that are gonna hurt the most over this.
Jeff, could you speak to what the services are, and so everyone understands, newspaper and any public watching? This is statewide. All county clerk's offices are going to be closed for the first 2 weeks of January. And what services, if anybody has any questions, is that going to impact besides your car titles and transfers? And
It's the January, and I'm gonna send a press release to the State Journal. We just got our final press release from KYTC today.
Yep.
So I'm gonna send the State Journal, and you'll get a full press release on this. For the January the 1st through the 5th, it's gonna affect everything. To avoid confusion, we're just gonna stop everything with the exception of one thing, and that's candidate filings. I will be here
Okay.
personally, myself, taking
Okay.
candidate filings January the 1st through the 5th, or not the 1st, the 2nd through the 5th. So I will be here doing candidate filings and making sure that we're available to try to answer questions. Problem is, with what we're doing, the PVAs will also be affected. Their entire system's going to be down when it comes to vehicle value, anything to do with vehicles. Their complete system's going to be down. So it's going to be a little chaotic. We're supposed to come up a little bit before the PVAs, but that really, I don't know that they know. They're trying to transfer 33 years of historical data from one program that is a DOS base over to a completely brand new Microsoft program that's cloud driven. So guys, I don't know how better to get the information out to the public. It will be chaotic for the first 2 weeks of January. Very chaotic. And I would avoid the clerk's office at all costs for the first 2 weeks of January.
So you're saying that car registrations will be closed, all other services will be closed
January
January
2nd.
2nd through the 5th?
Yes, ma'am.
And then if I needed to come in and look in the deed room, that'll be open after the 5th. If I need to come in and get a marriage license, I can do that. Just when people hear the office is going to be closed,
Right.
they're thinking probably wholesale, and it's the car registration portion that's going to have the delay because of the CAVIS rollout.
Yes, ma'am.
So for clarity, just so everybody understands
Yes,
that,
ma'am.
we don't stop people from getting married.
Well,
You know.
that's a matter of opinion.
I'm gonna leave that one where it lies.
Yes, I like it.
All righty, anything else for Mr. Hancock on that note?
what about access, actually, Jeff? You bring up the PVA system. Anyone that needs to access any of the online software programs like the PVA, all of that's going to be down for that period of time, so
Well, their land record side will be up.
will it be okay?
Yeah. The one records that you will be able to search, and I'll have Stuart Baird open up the eClick system where anybody the 1st through the 5th can get in and do all the research they need to do. That way that there is no researchers throwing a fit, I can't
Yeah.
do a title search.
Yeah.
I will have him open that up. He has the ability to open it up where everybody has full access.
And they were saying at the conference last week that, this isn't going to necessarily stop your attorneys from doing title work or your car dealerships from selling. It's just a matter of when those can be finalized and recorded, and there's going to be a bit of a backlog even after we open back up. And
That's
getting some of
exactly
those
right.
things
And
recorded.
the biggest thing with the car dealership, the big car dealerships are not the ones that I'm worried about. They've been through this before, they know, we'll backdate lien filings or whatever we need to do. It's the little, small run 15 car lots. So,
Just a thought, and I just want to say this out loud so I don't forget about it. Are you going to go talk to the city commission? Just, it seems like there's a different audience that watches their meetings and maybe our meetings, as far as, just a thought, as far as getting the word out, it might be worth it.
I can.
Yeah,
I have
I know.
no problem doing that as
Yeah,
well.
Just trying to get the word out.
On another note, we finalized your maps today. You all will get your first viewing of your maps with your new magisterial districts, with your new precinct boundaries. I don't know exactly when you get them. I just finished the county school board map today. We sent it over to Mark Cobb to get his approval. I'm speaking at a meeting on the 27th with the school board to go over that. We have moved and tried to make as many of those lines make sense. It's really hard to get 5 into 6. So there is still some confusion. I don't love them, but it is a far cry better from what it is. And by the time we had it all done, there were 23 total precincts still left and available. Yes.
You referenced sending it over to COP for his approval. Does he approve that, or is it his board?
School board does.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Guys, thank you all.
Thank you.
Sheriff,
Hello,
how are you doing?
good, how are you?
Good.
So basically, our tax roll increase, which is a good thing from last year, 3,209,000 and some change. We were in 45-ish last year, now we're 48, so. And I also pulled the numbers, we've been collecting since the first, and we're already at 58%, so it's pretty good. Probably be in the 80s by the end of this month, would be my guess. Any questions?
All right, y'all. Sheriff's here. No. You can't leave yet. I was just opening up
And
for
I was
questions.
glad to see the clerk's budget not on the same time as mine.
And so what we're seeing here on,
He's just walked away.
no, it's not a question, it's just, I guess, a statement here. A lot of, in the past, we've always had these put up for people to understand that when this bill comes in, the largest portion of this bill goes to the schools. Right now, what we're seeing here is 27 million, county coming in at 7 million, the state getting 6, so coming in very close to what the county takes. And then after that, the library falls in next at 3 million, the health department falls in at 2.8, almost 3 million.
Yep.
And then the extension service and conservation district, fall in at a much smaller rate. But the bulk of that is, the bulk of what's on your county tax bill is school tax.
Any questions for the sheriff while we have him in front of us? Sheriff, again, I want to thank you and the team for the good work going on to jail. They're making headway up there, and I'm proud of everybody, so thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate the support.
Yep, thank you. All righty, next I believe Robert. This is kind of you and Max, I believe. So this is, well, I'll let him talk about it. Good evening.
Good evening, Judge and members of the court. So the item before you at this moment is for, let's see, we're on number
7.
7. Okay, so this is the interlocal cooperation agreement with the City of Frankfort for the county code enforcement officer to provide services within the city limits, which would include inspection on planning and zoning developments and regulations, as well as that occupational or business licenses, if you will. So per this agreement, any fines assessed by the county code enforcement officer would be revenue to the county. Any license fees required by the city would be retained by the City of Frankfort. This would have to go before the City of Frankfort as well to be ratified and then sent off to Department for Local Government for their final approval. This closely mirrors the agreement we have for electrical services, electrical inspection services currently underway, in which the county performs all electrical inspection services for the city, since they currently do not have that position filled.
Questions for Robert? Go ahead, Squire Tanner.
This interlocal agreement has to be approved by the Department of Local Government, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
It used to have to be approved also by the Attorney General. Has that been removed from the law?
Does it still go to the AG?
It can go to the AG's office. However, they don't have to sign off on it, I guess, after a period. I can't remember the exact time period. I looked it up the other day, but DLG does have to sign off on that. Like I said, but it goes in front of the Attorney General as well.
Squire Wisman.
Just a couple of language things. The purpose of this says that the contract is temporary, but the duration agreement is defined as 24 months. And I don't like the word temporary in there, but if you could go into, just reiterate, you already said it, Robert, but fines levied and collected as a result of code enforcement field inspections, the city shall retain any and all permit and license fees as a result of the code enforcement field inspections, but the county retains all levied fines.
Correct.
So even for the city's infractions, the county's retaining fines in those
Correct.
instances?
That is correct.
And the county's not, or the city's not contributing anything to the county for the position?
That is correct.
That is the exchange. That's going to be our agreement.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
As written. That's how it is before you. So the city does have some ordinance amendments to make in order to, if they agree to this, they'll have a few little changes to make to their ordinances, but otherwise the county is in line and we are enforcing and citing and issuing fines as we speak. That was one of the first things we put on the county website for electronic payment and things of that nature, so.
I meant to bring that up while he was here, that we have the mechanism in place now.
Yes, we do.
For the first time, able to be more proactive in that effort.
That is correct.
Well, I think ultimately, I mean, the goal of this is to clean up our community of people that aren't playing by the rules and to make it safer for our constituents and things like that, because time and time again, things are happening with contractors who are here illegally and they're ripping people off and things like that. So ultimately, it's the big picture. Squire Tracy.
Thank you, Judge. Robert, have you had a chance to set up, I guess, the guidelines, how individuals call, make complaints, how do magistrates, when we receive calls, how do you want that handled? Do you want that to come to your admin? Do you want it to go straight to Richard?
The way our local telephone system works here in the building is that it comes into the main receptionist and then it can be transferred directly to an individual office. And so the code enforcement officer does maintain his own complaint log, enforcement log, and follow-up action. So say, for instance, if the code enforcement officer's on the phone or otherwise not here, then our admin can take it. So any one of us in the planning and building code department are happy to assist with taking that information and giving it to the officer. So whichever, just get a hold of one of us. There's always an employee in my department between 8 and 4:30 every day.
So for the public, you want them to call in to the office?
Just call into the department,
Okay.
yes,
But
we will handle it from there.
For the ones that are sitting here that receive complaints, call him directly is the way it sounds.
Yes, anyone is more than welcome to. Stop by the office, call him, whichever, and he's happy to investigate, log it.
Thank you.
So we're.
And one of the things we had talked about, and Amy can jump in if she wants, or Summer's not here, is that we're going to track everything. So all the fines, everything, it's going to be laid out as far as city, county. So at the end of our first year, because this is a new position, then we're going to be able to look at it, analyze it. We're going to start to really pay more attention to occupational tax, and just because what we're finding out is, let's say Joe Smith gets a business license because Richard has caught him out of compliance and he pays the fine. Well, he might work in our community for 5 years, and until he gets caught again, he's not turning his paperwork back in, and we're really losing out on a lot of money here also, you know. So it's safety, but it's money also that we're losing out on. So that's something that we're gonna start looking at also, once we start to do some construction projects here. We're gonna have an individual move over to the tax administration offices to start to track and really look back, send letters, send fines for people who are not doing the proper paperwork every year that's supposed to be turned in, and it's a lot.
Yes, so the occupational tax office has a separate penalty section within its division, separate from that of the general ordinances. And so it's based on minimum amounts and percentages. So we are tracking those license applicants that come in as a result of enforcement. So occupational tax administrators maintaining that log. And the office has seen a dramatic increase in the number of licenses coming in. So the new employee is doing a very nice job.
Squire Sebastian.
Thank you, Judge. Can you talk to us about the rate of the fines so we have some level of understanding? Because I'm trying to look at that offsetting the time for the personnel and the depreciation of the equipment that is used, because there's a vehicle involved in this, and I'm trying to figure out the sliding scale, if everything's going to be at a level of parity, or if in the end, we're going to put a ton of miles on a vehicle and we're losing out because we're not receiving the same kind of the receipts. So and maybe everyone here is cognizant of the amount of the fine. I don't know what that is.
Okay.
And is it different in the city as it is here in the unincorporated area that we deal with?
Sure, I can answer that. So the general offenses fine for county ordinances is $250 a day. Each day is a separate offense. We have cases we're working that are in that phase right now. Occupational tax office, as I indicated earlier, has a separate penalty structure for a minimum fine for failure to pay your yearly net profits, and then also a percentage of that return is added to the penalty. So, and that's what Judge Mueller was mentioning about putting a personnel over in occupational tax to help track that, because it's sitting there, and we just need to get those cleaned up. The
And so
city on the other hand,
I'm sorry, so the fine in the OC tax, you said is a set rate and then a percentage of the return
Yes, ma'am,
added to the penalty?
that's correct.
So what is the initial fine rate? Is there a rate for that, or?
It is, and
I'm sorry, I'm asking this, I'm probably
We
asking
might
the
have to
wrong
give a
person.
summary.
I'm just
I
trying to
believe it's $10 or
understand.
$20 minimum base fine, and then I'm thinking it's 3% of the return penalty.
Let's check with Summer and get back to the court on that, because I don't know if
Yeah.
that's, we'll check on that.
Okay, thank you.
And then the other part of your question about the city. As I mentioned earlier, the city is going to look at their ordinances
Okay.
to review their penalty section. The difference between the city and the county at this time is that the city has a code enforcement board who assesses penalties. So it varies, it's not a standard. So they use their discretion after hearing the case as to how much they want to fine the individual or not.
But it's my understanding with this, though, is that we're gonna continue to do 250 even in the city, right?
Depends on how they vote, I guess.
Well, that's my intent here. If not, we might need to.
I'm concerned about the cart and the horse
Yeah.
being ahead of everything else here.
Well, and
I'm
I've talked to the
concerned.
mayor, he and I've had a long talk about this as far as, and I know that's only one person, but as far as, it was my understanding that regardless of where our code enforcement officer is that the penalty is $250 paid to the fiscal court.
You are correct.
And then they have to go on their, to get their business license or onto our website and get ours.
You're correct, those discussions have been made in my presence with the judge and the
Yeah.
mayor, so yeah,
Okay.
that's the path we're going down.
Is there
I'll let
something we
someone
can
else
put in this
discuss
language
it.
then that lays that out? And maybe that's a question for Mr. County Attorney here.
I'm concerned about the way that it's written right now,
Okay.
us dealing with it. I personally am.
Mr. County
But I'll-
Attorney, is there something we can do here that states that if our code enforcement officer finds somebody in the the fine is $250. Because I don't want to get into boards and then they're analyzing things. I mean, that's not the whole goal here. The goal here is to make sure people are in compliance that day.
We would seem to need a fee structure to review and approve as part of this, exactly who's getting what. I was concerned that that language about who's retaining what is a little vague, and in addition, in number D, it says no property will be purchased in connection with this agreement, but we are providing vehicle, digital services, tracking, payment processing, all in connection directly with this, with no recourse there and no agreement with the city. I don't want to be on the hook for buying new vehicles that we're running within the city most of the time, but
I'm not sure we'll understand what the percentages of the city versus the county as far as usage until after we get into it 6 months, 8 months, a year. So I'm not sure we'll really be able to set anything
That's true.
would be accurate.
Yes,
Close
and so
to
of course the
accurate.
mileage in the city will be far less than that in the county, far less.
Max, is there anything we can do to this to kind of state what the court is talking about as far as, I mean, for me, I just want to make sure, because that's part of it, is that because we are paying for this position, so we have total control over it, and I don't want to lose that, but we need to get paid.
Yeah, we have benefits.
Yeah.
Have retirement.
Yeah.
We have a vehicle, we have all kinds of other equipment that is involved, and these are not necessarily low-tech pieces of equipment that we're going to be dealing with here. And as we've all heard, the cost, unfortunately, is not de-escalating on things. It's escalating on everything across the board. And if we set something in place that is in place for 2 years, I'm concerned that trying to catch up after we know a year ahead, and we're in the hole quite literally, it's going to be hard to do. So I raised that issue from my check.
Well, if I could just add, the revenue, in addition to the fines, is the occupational tax sharing agreement that the city and the county have. And since the city's at 1.95%, the county's at 1%, so when we get, half of their 1.95 for every business or every activity that the code enforcement officer finds, needs to be calculated into this does it pay for itself? And then the other leg being the occupational tax administrator, having that as additional assistant to go to those delinquents. Because when my officer is inquiring or getting the list of, let's say, contractors that do business X, well, that list may have 5 companies that haven't paid their net profits in 4 years. And back to the judge's point, we need to capture that. So.
Squire Tracy, then Squire Tanner, please.
One other question, back to like when the citation is issued, obviously you're talking occupational tax and everything else. Is there a line item on that citation that reflects the number of employees on the job site that day?
No, there is not. No, there is not.
That probably needs to be.
So, on the occupational tax side, it's based on profit.
No, I'm just saying cross-reference. That way, when taxes are filed at the end of the year and you say you don't have any employees, but yet code enforcement stopped on that day and wrote a citation and there was 7 people on the job. That's 7 people that need to be claimed per se under that umbrella.
Yes, so I can ask the officer if there are any field notes that he makes as it relates to who he spoke with, how many vehicles, those kinds of things. So I will get into that and add that column into his reporting. And that, of course, we will share with occupational tax. So great idea, thank you.
Squire Tanner.
Well, a comment and a question. Maybe the question first. When the city gets this and they decide they want to make changes to it, and they do make some changes, it has to come back here for us to either agree with those changes or not. That's the way I would understand the process, number one.
Correct, you are correct.
Number 2 is, our code enforcement officer is getting paid X amount, whether it's this one or whether it's the one in the future, whatever it is. So either we're doing theirs, he's his salary's not gonna be based on how many people he sees, so it doesn't make any difference. In reference to what Sherry was talking about, I mean, we got the cost of him, whether he inspects the city or whether he don't. And we got a vehicle, whether he does it or whether he don't, he may wear it out quicker. We have the technology, equipment we're gonna have one way or the other, so some of those things spreads the cost. But probably not the vehicle, but because he's gonna wear it out quicker. But anyway, hopefully with that income, but maybe the contract is too long to start with, and maybe we should be able to review it after 6 months before we figure out what's going on more, but you have to start. And I don't believe that they'll ever sign it the way it actually is, so we'll see what they come back with.
So while this discussion is focused on revenue, I would also like to focus on the other leg of this agreement, and that relates to how properties are kept, abandoned vehicles, things of that nature.
Maintenance standards.
Maintenance standards, in the first 2 weeks, the county officer has identified and notified owners of 3 abandoned mobile homes. Well, that ordinance was adopted under Judge Roach. They get 10 days to get it out of there. And so immediately, the county is starting to look better, the enforcement actions are occurring, and we are receiving compliance. But doesn't, and at the officer's discretion, if they're making progress, he can give them I'll give you another week,
And being proactive.
And being proactive, yes, and going directly to those owners and saying, here's what's wrong, I'll give you a week to get this cleaned up, or I'll have to cite you, blah, blah, blah. So compliance is the end game on this. And we always have the county attorney's office at the end of the day for issues of non-compliance, or just plain refusal to comply, and, in whole or in part. And so we are not shy to going through that process. We do issue citations on site. The officer has a printer in the vehicle, and signs are levied on site as well. And then they're made aware of their ability to pay online immediately, and then very quickly, if it's a business license issue, that's when the occupational tax administrator sees someone at their window, because the officer instructs them their timeline for obtaining a license.
So I guess I ask my fellow members of the court, do we feel if we take this up tonight, and are we good with everything that's in this right now?
We're gonna table it. We're gonna table it, we need to tighten it up.
Hey, I'm a little concerned about it.
No, and we all are, and I was letting everybody speak, because ultimately we have to talk about it. Squire Tanner, to your point, I don't think necessarily we would sign it first. We'd send it to the city. If no changes were made, then we'd be okay to sign it. I never want to put us in the, harm's way that if we sign something, they make changes and sign it. Our county attorney's not gonna let us do that. But ultimately,
It's gonna be negotiated in it.
yeah, so anyway, so let's table this item. We'll tighten it all up and then bring it back.
Can I just say, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Flip coin.
I'm just going to say, this is an issue that the judge brought before the last court and asked for it repeatedly. And we've heard tonight how it's already paying dividends to the county in the health of the county.
Yes.
So I really want to take this moment to lay that at your feet, because you were a champion.
Thank you.
And I'm glad to see that this is moving forward in such a positive way for our community. So I really want to thank you for that.
Thank you, Squire. And I think it's a team effort. I think everybody on
It
this
is,
court recognized,
but you led the charge on this, and you had other people come to help,
Yeah,
to support this in the
Yeah.
last court.
there's near and dear.
I'm
Yeah, thank you very much.
I'm glad to see
Yeah.
that this is doing what the discussion was all along.
And I think people are very appreciative. There's been very good feedback. I know originally we were worried about, what the people might think, but we've had more compliments about, and I think Richard's doing a phenomenal job. He's
Yes.
polite, he's educating the public, but he's cleaning it up. He's getting businesses to play by the same rules. Go ahead, Squire Tracy.
I think it's also important to let everyone know that you've got surrounding counties coming to you, asking you about it, wanting to come in,
Yep.
look at it, see how it's set up, because they feel like they need them.
Well, and that is something I think I shared with you, but a very prominent county right next to us stopped me at the conference and said, "We're hearing nothing but good things about your code enforcement. will you come talk to our fiscal court about it? Because we need to do something just like it, but they don't understand it. So, yes, you are right. I mean, it is a good thing for our community.
I think we have to give accolades again to Mr. Sandifer too, because his personality is working well with this, and we're being able, I know I've sent several in my district that are quite frankly just life and health issues of not businesses, but persons that are not being good neighbors and good environmental stewards, let's say, that we're finally able to deal with some of these things that, some of them have languished my entire life, I know,
Yes.
a couple of them. But I'm wondering if maybe we shouldn't, in terms of this agreement, define, I know Mr. Sandifer's job description is well defined, but what scope of enforcement we're doing. I will say at my previous iteration at the city, there was a lot of discussion during that time about a very big project downtown here that had a tremendous amount of workers that we don't think ever paid any local occupational tax.
Yeah.
We're fairly positive that didn't happen. And I think that's maybe beyond the scope of one person. So I kind of would like to put some parameters in here, maybe just a little bit about what level of enforcement and what types of enforcement we're going to be focusing on. We had discussion about some sewers and some other things, like that I don't know that we're quite there yet if they've been grandfathered 30, 40 years on
No.
those fractions.
There's no grandfathered in on business licenses.
Well, the truth be told, Squire, we need to go to even some of our municipality, our
Yes.
schools,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they're having companies come in, and really, they need to be the ones that are asking for business licenses. So I agree with you 110%. So we're heading that direction. It's a process, and we're getting there, but we're identifying things like that, yes, you're right, one person can't do it, but on the forefront, they should be requiring it, as part of their process.
As part of their bid process.
Correct.
And so our county enforcement officer doesn't take any contractor or any business off the table. It doesn't matter if you're working for the plant board or the school system,
Yeah.
the officer shows up,
Yeah.
asks for the license. So,
Robert, thank you. We're going to table this.
and thank you to the court for
Yep.
allowing us to do this and assist the county. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Court. Alrighty, moving on. Tonight we have the second reading of the administrative code related to suspension of rules. I think we've talked about this. Go ahead, Squire.
I was just going to ask at the first reading, we asked county attorney to review for legality. I was wondering if he had an opinion for us to.
How many what? I'm sorry.
We asked county attorney about a legality review and wonder if he had an opinion before we took a vote on second reading.
It seems standard in my review of, I guess you'd say, the legislative handbook. Our General Assembly has a similar rule. Congress has a similar rule for suspension of the rules by a 2/3 vote, which is relating to one issue, which is what is set forth in this revision to the ordinance.
Thank you.
It's part of parliamentary procedure.
So just for the record, if we were to have something come in front of us, we would have to have 5 out of the 7 votes in order to suspend the rule for that issue, correct?
It has to be for that singular issue.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I want to make sure everybody understands that. So it would take 5 votes to go there.
And by the same token, the way that this ordinance is written, if someone had to recuse themselves, or 2 people had to recuse themselves, it would still take 5 votes.
Correct.
Minimum.
It's the body, not physically who's here, it's the body overall, which are 7 of us on this body. Correct? Sorry, I don't mean to be doing your work, Mr.
Correct.
County Attorney.
Correct.
Thanks.
Thank you, Squire. All righty, next one is the second reading, the admin code about employee evaluations. Any more comments on this one? All right, I think Robert's coming back up. Robert, you coming back up?
Yes, sir.
Okay, number 10, making sure.
So this, do we wait on Squire Sebastian, or you want to proceed on?
This is just one where she's going to recuse?
I don't.
Let's go ahead and start. She'll be right back. Go ahead and get her started.
So this next item is an ordinance amending the Hardin County zoning map for a 3.13 acre tract of property located at 1003 and 1005 Twilight Trail. The request was for a zone map amendment from industrial commercial district to highway commercial district. Public hearing was held before the Planning Commission on October the 12th, in which evidence and testimony was taken into the record. And then on that same evening, they adopted a summary of the evidence and findings of fact located in section 1 of your ordinance. They did recommend approval and, let's see, and so therefore, this is first reading of the ordinance with, as you're aware, 90 days to take action on the application and recommendation.
Robert, could you just, before we open up for questions, could you remind the court what those two classifications kind of, what's acceptable for IC that it's currently zoned and what they're going for on the CH? Can you
Yes.
give some examples, please, just so everybody understands?
Sure. So industrial commercial is the lower grade of the two industrial zoning districts. Industrial commercial allows for just general warehousing, mini storage units, industry that will have a retail shop in it as well, things of that nature. Highway commercial is more of the retail, automobile-oriented locations and businesses, which include convenience stores, auto parts stores, drugstores, grocery stores, things of that nature. So it's more of what you would expect to see along the main highway or thoroughfare. And so the uses differ greatly between the two, whereas the IC is more on the warehousing, storage, transport of goods, and the other is more retail-based.
Squire Wissman.
I'll just go ahead and read those purposes into record, why not, from the packet, because I said I was going to make a habit of doing this, just so the public knows what we're considering anyway, right? So the industrial commercial district, which is the current existing zoning, the purpose is the industrial commercial district is to establish and provide an area for wholesaling, warehousing, distribution of goods, and certain retail and service functions, light manufacturing, processing or assembly of goods, and products where such process involves only the manufacturing or assembly from pre-manufactured parts or goods is also permitted. It is intended that all operations be conducted within enclosed buildings, and that all uses should be compatible with the adjacent or residential use. And the proposed zoning, and Robert, before I read this, I believe the record verifies that this was the pre-existing zoning on this parcel prior to a previous zone change request that was granted. I believe that's correct?
If that is correct and you want to state that from the record as it appears in front of you, that would probably be the best bet as opposed to asking him that question.
It seems to be, there it is. Yes, it's in the background of the, I couldn't find it quickly.
It's a lot easier for you to make a statement than for him to answer a question, because I don't want him providing testimony.
So the purpose, again, reverting back to a previous zoning configuration of Highway Commercial District, CH, is to establish and preserve districts of limited and low-intensity commercial uses. This zone is intended to provide retail goods and services required for the regular convenience of neighborhood residences, or to provide a transition between residential development and other more intense land use districts. Certain design requirements are established to ensure compatibility with residential uses, and per our map, this property does adjoin a residential neighborhood at its rear. So I just wanted to read those so we have, and I'll start making a record of that so the public sort of understands. In some instances, I feel we have a bit of musical chairs going on with zoning, so always good to understand what the permitted uses are for districts, especially at the first reading. Thank you.
So I'm going to ask, whose district is this in? Is that yours? Okay, I thought it was. I was trying to.
Number one is always number one.
Yeah.
So I've had no calls from any of the contiguous neighborhoods because it butts up to, or you have to pass by to get to one neighborhood, it butts up to another neighborhood. There was a commercial use also to the right side of it, if I'm looking from, and I don't know the direction.
On
whatever.
Twilight Trail. If you're standing in the
Twilight,
road.
yeah,
looking,
you're right. So also, I believe it was under this court that it was taken up to change early in the term of this court.
I remember.
And the court approved that. And I had no cause moving it to the intended use at the time. I've had no cause moving it back to what originally it started out to being used at. So I just want to make sure the court is aware, members of the court, that I've had no calls from
Thank you,
from
Squire.
anyone.
Robert, let me ask one thing, just because they do bring up a little bit about the residential, and this is going back to what it was originally.
Can't ask anything.
I was gonna ask on a separate note, just what buffer applies to if the zoning goes back to anything? Can he not ask that right now?
It wasn't part of the testimony
Okay, don't worry
of the
about it, don't
original
worry
planning commission, but no.
That's just something I personally was curious,
So the question is, outside of this meeting, can we pose that question to the staff for informational purposes? Because that would be a piece of information that generally anybody could call in and
Well, and in
ask.
theory, it's in the books, because
It's in
I'm just
theory, it's in a
curious,
book
I mean, you know,
somewhere. I
so there's
just don't
no
have the
reason
book in
if
front
we
of me.
went to, let's even say Ben, and say, okay, what are the classifications for berms or trees
right.
for the CH application that butts up to a residential?
And it doesn't have
to be about this.
Doesn't have to be about this, that's exactly right.
Right, Mr. County Attorney?
I mean, we lie awake wondering about berms. I do at times, believe me.
If it is burning down in your soul to ask questions about burns,
Burning in your soul. I like that. Yeah, that's a new saying. All right, I think we're good on this one. We good on this one? Richard, are you good on this one? You good?
I will say the exact same thing Sherry Squire Sebastian said, so no need of me saying it. I got no calls.
Okay, Robert, thank you. We're gonna keep moving.
Thank you.
Thank you. All righty. Next one, I believe, Amy, you have the next two or three. How you doing this evening? You can come on up. So, this next one is second reading, talking about the insurance companies, yada. Anybody have any questions for Amy on this one? I know we talked about it in pretty deep conversation last court, so make sure there's no other questions. Seeing none, we'll go on to the next one.
So this is the budget amendment number 2. And your abstract has the details of the 4 amendments, revenues that'll be amended in. At the bottom, I've got the financial impact. I'll just go over that with you. With this amendment, the budget for fiscal year 23-24 will increase by $216,708 and total $52 million. The next line gives the budget excluding capital expenses and federal projects.
Thank you.
And it'll increase it to $32.3 million.
So, Madam...
No, you're fine,
Thank
Squire. Go
you,
ahead.
Judge.
Thank you.
Madam Treasurer, thank you for being with us. So we heard some testimony tonight from the clerk's office, and I'm just trying to see how that is going to impact this budget, because it will come in January in this budget cycle. Because there's a proposition now for a raise for a small portion of county staff that the other county staff did not get, and will impact their line items.
Yes, it's important to remember that the clerk's line item, they reimburse us dollar for dollar for the payroll. However, it is the court's expense to do the FICA match, so that's the Social Security, as well as the retirement. So, I mean, that's roughly on their annual order, that's $244,000. At a 1.5%, that would be $122,000. So it's important to remember that. That does impact our budget.
Any other questions? Squire Wisman.
Judge, while we're here, can we go into a little bit of what the $108,000 request is for the jail? I'm not sure if it's been explained to everyone what that amount is for.
I'm going to just tell you what the breakdown is, but I will turn it over if you'd like to say more. 50,000, they have already used their maintenance line item, so they have estimated that they need 50,000 just to continue regular maintenance to get through this budget year. And then the 58,000 is for the additional valve replacement cost. And I think they spoke to the court about that the last time they were here. Is there anything you want to add?
And would you come up and speak just to the valves a little bit? Because it's my understanding the valves that were, this replacement cost was in addition to those that were changed out through our energy contractors where they evaluated priority areas and instead of every single thing in the prison, and you've identified need for more, so.
Yes, so the valve replacement project, they covered around 30-something valves, I think it was total. I would have to go back and look at the numbers exactly. There's roughly almost 300 valves in that jail. The ideal of this whole project is to make it easier to go in and say we have to eliminate up front where the dry cells are and stuff. When we get an intoxicated subject in there, they can go in and shut off that water to that one cell, or say that they have drugs or something on their body or inside their body they've ingested. They can go in there and shut off that water instead of having to shut off the whole pod area, which legally for purposes of that nature we cannot do. And we have valves that are breaking, valves that are leaking because they broke. I mean, it's all a water issue, and it wasn't taken care of before, and now we're paying for it now.
But thank you, I just kind of wanted to highlight, thank you, because we're getting back to the point, I feel like, fairly quickly, faster than I expected, that all the functional parts of the prison are being repaired to the point that we have a fully operational facility. I just wanted to mention, would you update us on that kitchen pump too, what it was? And
the kitchen pump is a $1,200 pump that shut the running water off in the kitchen that was running at over 5 gallons a minute they can turn the water on now and they can have hot water in 2 minutes.
So we identified a sink in the kitchen that was running 1,500 gallons of heated water a day, that if you turned off the hot water to half the prison, that's now been fixed for $1,200. You're doing well. I just wanted to highlight.
It's all a work in progress.
We appreciate it.
It'll get better, and the expenses, they're gonna come sooner than later, but it's an aging building and we have to take care of it. Or we're gonna spend the $50 million and build a new one, and Lord knows we can't do that.
Well, thank you for being proactive and helping us get everything back up to snuff on so many of these issues. We're moving faster than I expected that we would be.
Yes, sir.
So you pay me now, you pay me later, that's what's going on, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
We're paying more now.
Well, it's pay either one, the way you look at it, it's either now or later, doesn't matter. Okay, never mind.
Any other questions on that item? All righty. Go ahead, Amy.
The next you have the 4 months ended 10/31/23 summary. And the next to the last column list our fund totals. The fund balance with reserves is $29.1 million as compared to $18.5 last year this time, but do remember that that includes our $10 million bond. Also is your revenue report and expense report as of November 17th.
Sorry, I'm confused on an item, it's not this item, I apologize for not paying attention. Any questions for Amy on the treasurer's report?
Just ask Amy, we're not that far into the year, but I'm seeing quite a number of the income that we're well ahead for, 80, 90, 100% in some of those. Do you anticipate that we're going to have some overage in any areas?
Which line items are you
I'm
referring
generally,
to?
I'm just asking generally, I suppose, more so. Maybe I just need to, I'll just come talk with you.
Okay.
Amy, thank you. Payment of claims for our clerk. Do you have any questions for Kim on payment of claims? Seeing none, before we go into other business, I'd like to take a 5-minute recess. I need to kind of get something figured out in my head, so if that's okay with everybody, we're going to take 5 minutes and then we'll come right back to go to other business and then voting, okay? We're going to take a recess. We good? Alrighty, it looks like we are back live. I apologize to anybody watching because my 5 minutes took longer than 5 minutes, but I'm a little slower than others, so it takes me a minute to understand some things.
You feeling okay?
I feel okay, and I appreciate that, Squire Tracy. It's been a great meeting. I appreciate everybody. Let's go ahead and go into other business. Does anybody have any other business for us tonight? Squire Sebastian.
I do. I just want to bring to the court's attention that tonight is the Interfaith Thanksgiving service. That's at Good Shepherd. It starts at 7. And the offering tonight that we've taken up will be given to Rosam. So it's going to go to a good purpose. So just calling anybody who's not there, as we are not there, calling that up. And then I know there was a letter sent to FPB. Is there a way that the court can get a copy of that letter?
Apologize, yes, ma'am,
That's
yesterday.
okay.
Yes,
I
yes,
just-
I will make a note now and have Mitzi forward it to you guys.
Thank you very
Absolutely.
much. Thank you.
Squire Tanner.
I do want to bring up some other, since we're kind of pushing for time a little bit tonight because of what's going on.
word, buddy, we're here.
Well, maybe I'm pushing for time more than anybody else, but there's been a lot of conversation about shortage of housing in this county and community. And I don't know what our ordinance says about Airbnbs, but I would certainly like to see that, and maybe we need to regulate that business a little more than we do, because every time a house is taken off the market and turned into an Airbnb, that's a house less in the housing market. So in the future, maybe we could look, do we have an ordinance?
The city does.
I'd like to review that ordinance sometime in the future, Judge.
Okay. Squire.
Mr. Planning Director, can you get us a count, per se, of what we have in the county in regards to Airbnbs?
Would you like ones that are licensed?
Yes, well, that's all me. An estimate on the rest?
Yeah.
So-
Licensed would be good, and
Yes.
maybe unlicensed would be
Unlicensed
good
would
as
be
well.
nice also.
The unlicensed, until you actually get into the booking phase, you can't get the
Right.
location, so it's difficult. But we did adopt an ordinance, what was it, last year, year before, seeing that it was occurring, and we just wanted to have some regulation on that. And so they do require a business license, conditional use permit, so we are receiving our revenues on that. And then the net profits, obviously, for the business license. So I will be more than happy to send you out the list of what we currently have licensed and where they are, and along with the ordinance about that.
That would be great.
And I'd like to add to that, if any of the squires know of Airbnbs that are in their districts, it might not be a bad idea to send that in to planning and zoning, and let's just make sure they're on the list.
Please do, because a lot of those business owners don't know that they
Yeah.
have to have a conditional.
We have to
use
educate
permit.
everybody.
Exactly, so everyone that we've run into have been more than cooperative in compliance, and, they do such a great job of maintaining their properties. To Squire's point, we have a need for additional single-family development lots. We are extremely low on those, and so that's difficult for the market when we're having a surge towards vacation rentals based on tourism, so it's a double-edged sword there. We need more single-family lots.
Squire Tracy.
Thank you, Judge. But I will say this, we have one that's around the corner from where I live, Airbnb, and it stays busy about every weekend, and it's actually been, it's not been a problem, so the owners take really good care of it, and like I said, it stays busy, and we've not had any problems out of it.
Excellent. It's my experience that Airbnbs that are not run properly don't stay in business very long.
I don't think they do, but I also think that because of what I do for a living, I get housing calls all week long. And we are in dire need of affordable housing, which is not $1,200 for a two-bedroom. We are in dire need of affordable housing units. So I get your point, and I appreciate your point.
Squire Wisdom.
I would like to see, well, one, just a comment that I think tourism takes a pretty active effort to identify ones that are not paying their dues. So hopefully they can work directly with their code enforcement more often, and you, your office, I think they already probably are.
Yes.
But I would love to see, like them or not, they're an important element of our community right now, and I'm wondering what the breakdown is between those that are owner occupied, that are, the owner leaves for a weekend and lets it become available, versus those that are purposeful, full-time vacation rental. I don't know if we have any numbers like that. Maybe that could be a little bit of an analysis of those that are permitted so far.
As of this date, all are non-owner occupied that we have presented to the Board of Zoning Adjustments and subsequently permitted through the Business License Office. So they're all non-owner occupied, but they're not to be confused with Airbnbs. Okay, so there's a distinction. We have a separate ordinance on Airbnb, bed and breakfast.
Yeah.
Separate from the vacation rentals. Yes.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Any other business?
Just two.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Two things, Judge, if I could. Just very quickly, these are just requests. Last court meeting, or 2 court meetings ago, I think it was last court meeting, we asked a county attorney to look into P3s and taxation of a couple of recent projects. With the appointment of our new PBA, I was hoping that we could have some presentation to us fairly shortly about that, and I don't know if there's been any development.
No, actually, we did speak to him, but that's not in his wheelhouse. So the judge is,
I've met with counsel about it.
Great.
We are working on it.
Great. And then the other thing I was just going to ask is maybe a little bit of a synopsis, if we could have prepared for us, of kind of what code enforcement issues we're seeing already. I mean, he's been on the job for a little bit and tackling a lot of things. I'm wondering if there's maybe a little bit of analysis we can do about where we need to put some more emphasis, or where our bigger infractions are. I'm not sure what that's going to look like. I know my district pretty well, but I don't know the whole county.
Okay. Got it. Anybody else? I'm going to put you on the spot right now. We have a new writer for the State Journal. Would you like to get up and introduce yourself to the world?
Sure.
All righty. I'd like to give you a quick opportunity to do that. You can come on up to the mic. If
Okay.
you're going to be on TV, you might as well be heard. Let's go. It's your big debut.
Hi, I'm Kelly. I am, like you said, a new reporter with the State Journal. I will be covering county government as well as city government, Kentucky State University, Frankfurt Plant Board, as well as, anything else they want to throw at me, which should probably be quite a bit. I am looking to move to the area, and I have found the problem you guys were just talking about. It's very hard to find something that's affordable. But right now I live in Springfield. I just want to let everybody know that, if they have a story idea or anything they want to talk to me about, if you want to talk to me about a story I already did, just, feel free to call me. My cell phone number is 859-661.
You gotta be careful here. Look here. You gotta give it up.
8318.
Go ahead. Do it again. I interrupted you.
859-661-8318. And feel free to call me or text me anytime. I do prefer text, like most people nowadays, but if you want to call, that's fine too. It's really nice to meet everybody.
Well, on behalf of the Franklin County Fiscal Court, we welcome you to Frankfurt, and we hope you find a home or somewhere to rent. And if there's anything we can do
Come on, the first district.
as a body or anything,
Take 'em on.
don't hesitate to reach out to us if you need anything, okay?
Thank you so much.
Welcome. I do have one quick, where to go? My other business. December 12th. The government will be closed. It is Inauguration Day. So the day is full of parades and other things that are happening within the community. So that's exciting. That's one thing that makes Frankfurt different than any other county in the state, is that it's in our backyard and we get to participate. So just wanted to make sure everybody realized that county government will be closed on December 12th. That's all I have.
That's a vacation day?
Don't ask me that.
yeah, it will be.
It's not my world, man. I just know we're closed. It's a holiday, I guess. We'd actually talked about, when we did the schedule in the beginning of the year, this came up, but we have to always wait. We follow a state schedule, so until they made an executive order, we waited to follow. So, yeah, that's where we are. Alrighty, everybody good? We're gonna roll into the voting session. Clerk, please call roll.
Squire Sebastian.
Here.
Squire Blackburn. Squire Dykus.
Here.
Squire Tracy.
Here.
Squire Tanner,
Here.
Mike's
Squire Listman,
here.
Judge Mueller.
Present. Item 2, authorization for approval of minutes from regular meeting of November 8th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization for approval of county clerk's claim for preparing tax bills.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization for approval of sheriff's official receipt for property tax bills for 2023.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Items 5 and 6, we're going to table. There was some information I don't believe that was complete on the form, so we're going to put those on December 6th. Next, item 7, authorization to approve an interlocal. We're going to table that one too. Sorry. Next one, second reading, approval of an ordinance amending Chapter 30 Administrative Code 30.153, Order of Business of the Franklin County Code of Ordinances to add language under subsection A relating to the suspension of rules.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Second reading and approval of an ordinance amending Chapter 30 Administrative Code, Chapter 30, 30.098 of the Franklin County Code of Ordinances to remove and add language under subsections A, B, C, and adding D relating to employee evaluations.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. This is the first reading of an ordinance amending the table of ordinances, Section 1, zoning map changes of the Franklin County Code of Ordinances for a 3.13 acre tract from Industrial Commercial District IC to Highway Commercial District CH. The property is identified as PVA map 050-00-00-092.03, located at 1003 and 1005 Twilight Trail. No vote will be taken tonight. It'll be on the next meeting. Second reading and approval of ordinance amending ordinance number 16-2006, series relating to the imposition and payment of license fees on insurance companies engaged in the business of insurance within Franklin County, Kentucky for the health, education, safety, welfare, and convenience of the inhabitants of Franklin County, Kentucky, pursuant to KRS 67.083 and 91A.080 point.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. This is first reading of amendment number 2 to ordinance number 7-2023 relating to budget for fiscal year 2023-2024. No vote will be taken. That will be on our next agenda. Authorization to receive treasurer's report.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Payment of claims. Is there a motion to deny any payment of claims? Seeing none, no motion. Let the record reflect claims are to be paid. And before we get out of here, I would like to wish the community a happy Thanksgiving. I hope all county employees enjoy the 4 days off. Everybody be safe. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Oh. The walk, yes, thank you. There is a walk for the soup kitchen, that is downtown. I believe it starts at 8 o'clock in front of the soup kitchen on
Starts in front of the United Methodist Church.
Thank you, United Methodist
First
Church.
United.
At 8 a.m.,
Yep.
the morning of Thanksgiving. It is their only fundraiser they do for all year. So we ask the community to come out, show support for our neighbors, the magistrates, everybody. Let's take care of our neighbors who are not as fortunate as we are. Do I have a motion to adjourn? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. We're adjourned. Thank you.